Yeah, sorry.
Yes, Ashish, we can start.
Okay, thank you. So the agenda is very clear. So I am going to discuss, or other way, I wanted to show you the practical demos. Okay, so as I mentioned, right, I am going to change the pattern. First, discuss the theory, and then jump onto the demo part. Right, I'll jump onto the demo part first, and then this theory will make more sense. Okay, so if time permits, we'll come back to the slides and we'll see what all we have covered and what all we have discussed. Definitely, there are limitations everywhere. We'll discuss those also, challenges. So throughout this session, we are going to discuss about the new feature which is added to our, or we can say brand new deployment space from Microsoft space, which is CloudHub 2.0. Okay, so a lot of efforts are putting in couple of years, and then we got the newborn baby called CloudHub 2.0. Okay, so here there are new concepts like shared space, private space. We'll talk about how it handles the security. Okay, so in case of network level or API level, we'll see that how the port forwarding works, how the TLS context works. We'll talk about last mile security and the deployment model called rolling update, recreate. We'll see how the scaling works here, and clustering. We'll talk about that, and the new features, as I mentioned, right? There are new things added. So how we can control the incoming traffic and outgoing traffic. Okay, we'll try to compare this with the cloud of 1.0, and then we'll see the what all enhancement done as compared to cloud of 1.0 in cloud of 2.0. Okay, so better I'll jump on to the demo directly. So I'll just log into my fresh account. Okay, so I got a special account from the Microsoft community where I got private space to show the demo. Okay, so if you go to, so I'll try to open few links also here. So I'll follow these points so that I won't miss anything. Okay. So I'll try to see all these points through the demos. So we'll check. Okay, so how we can create private space, what is exactly private space means in the cloud of 2.0 context, and then we'll check. Okay, so for example, okay, if I deploy something, okay, in case of cloud of 1.0, if I deploy application in a VPC, how do you verify that that application is deployed? This is question to everyone. Okay, you can post it in the chat. Okay, so I always ask question, so you can post in the chat. Okay, so I deploy application in a VPC, a particular region. How will you make sure that that application is deployed in that region, that VPC? Is there a way in CloudHub 1.0 that will show you that okay, your application is deployed in this particular VPC? Is there a way to check that? Yeah, I need your answers yes in the chat. Whatever you think, okay? How you verify? It's a generic question. When you deploy your application in VPC, right? I wanted to make sure that that application is deployed under that VPC only. Region in the URL. Okay, in the URL there could be multiple VPCs, right? In that so you're talking about region in the URL. Okay, that is shared load balancer URL, right? How will you make sure in that particular region there will be multiple VPCs, but that API is deployed in my particular VPC? How will you verify that? And definitely you'll get a URL. In the URL there will be a region specified DLB URL, but DLB, how the DLB URL will tell you that your application is deployed? Okay, you are saying Ashok, you are saying you can come on mic also. Okay, anybody other than this, Abhishek, any input?
No idea, sir.
Okay, by getting the IP using ping, checking it with the cider block. Which URL you are going to ping, Sridharan? Which URL? Okay, so more time. Okay, so in yeah, application URL once deployed. Okay, we don't have DLB logs. Okay, fine. So okay, so in this case, right? In this case, first When you deploy in CloudHub 1.0, you'll get Mule worker URLs, right? You can go ahead and cross check the internal Mule worker URL. Just run ns lookup command. You'll see the private IP addresses over there, and those private addresses you can. That is the only way you have. Okay. Otherwise, you can go ahead and try to access via DLP. If it is not accessible, that means something is wrong with your deployment. Okay, so that's where when we troubleshoot, right, first thing you should see that your application is deployed under that VPC properly or not. So you need to check the private IP addresses of the Mule worker, whether those IP addresses are coming from your CIDR block of VPC. Okay, so in CloudHub 2.0, how it works? Okay, so that's how we are going to see. Okay, so let me go quickly. And if you look at my screen right now, I don't have anything deployed in private space. So first, let's go ahead and try to deploy something in a shared space. So let's talk about, okay, so in CloudHub 2.0, we'll get two kind of dedicated areas, one for multi-tenancy and second one for your single tenancy. What do you mean by multi-tenancy and single tenancy? So we'll get a something called shared space. So let me show you that shared space over here. So when I say deployment target, you can see we'll get 12 shared space in 12 different regions. So globally, it's available now. So in trial account, basically you won't be able to see it since I got this account from the MuleSoft space. I requested for it and I got it. So you can see that for demo point of view, I got this license. So you can see that 12 regions with 12 shared space you'll get it. So shared space is nothing but something which we do in our CloudHub 1.0 also. So we deploy application in a shared space which is always secure. Nobody can access your space other than you, but it will be in a shared. Okay, so you'll get a shared load balancer over there. Similarly, here we'll get a shared Ingress load balancer. Okay, so let's pick one space. Let me take the ACS specific, and let's go ahead and take one application from our. Okay, so maybe we can take it from Exchange itself. Example, go ahead and okay, I'm taking this approach to because I wanted to show you some features from here. Okay, so hello world, I say okay, let's go ahead. Now if you look at here, so there is a runtime here. This CloudHub 2.0 is only supporting the runtime on and on and after 4.3.0. That's my one point to show you live features. Okay, so if you're planning to migrate to CloudHub 2.0, there are some considerations we need to do. There is no lift and shift option available. Okay, so when you are planning to migrate from CloudHub 1.0 to 2.0, definitely you need to upgrade your Mule runtime in old and then come back to this. Okay, and there are other points also, we'll discuss those. Okay, somebody recently posted that we need to consider a lot of things. We'll discuss those also, but the first thing is your applications will be running on Mule runtime 4.3. and above. Okay, so first point. Second one, you have option here. Now in CloudHub 1.0, we used to have 0.1 and then there was no 0.5 convention over there. Now we have 0.5 convention here. We have 1.5, we have 2.5, we have 3.5, and maximum you can go till 4 vCores. In CloudHub 1.0, again I am comparing with CloudHub 1.0. Okay, so in CloudHub 1.0, there was no concept of 0.5. Okay, now we have that. Okay, and in CloudHub 1.0, we used to go till 16 vCore. Now they are reduced to 4 vCores over here. Okay, hope that is clear. This point is clear. Here, replica, yes, there was a concept of more than one worker, but here they have added replica, and with this replica, we have option to create a cluster. Okay, so there was no concept of clustering in CloudHub 1.0. Here we have option to create cluster. Okay, so here high availability and internal load balancing you can achieve via number of replicas, and then if you want to create something like to share internal load, you can go ahead and create cluster. Okay, this is one thing. Now, by default here, object store is not selected. That means in CloudHub 1.0, if you go back, if you uncheck that checkbox, you won't be able to deploy your applications, right? But in CloudHub 2.0, they have enhanced that. Now, if you want to really use object store v2, then go ahead and use it. If you don't have object store in your application, you don't need to select this. By default, this is unchecked. But in case of Mule for CloudHub 1.0, you need to have that value true. Okay, hope you got my point. I'm trying to make a difference and trying to clarify that what all changes are made in CloudHub 2.0. So this option was by default selected in CloudHub 1.0. If you uncheck and try to deploy your application, it will fail. It won't allow you. Even via Maven, if you go and try to deploy, unless you have that property in your pom.xml under configuration of your MMP, it won't allow you to deploy. Okay, it won't show you actual error, but you need to be very careful there. It has to be true. All Mule for applications for CloudHub 1.0. But here you can go ahead. Okay, and
Ash,
once you keep, yeah, go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt. That's a question like what is mean by running in cluster mode?
Okay, running in customer. Okay, so I forgot to tell you one thing. CloudHub 2.0, in other word, I can say that it's a MuleSoft managed runtime fabric. Okay, under the hood, the framework, the infrastructure, the architecture which is used for this CloudHub 2.0 is runtime fabric. Okay, now running in cluster mode is something, if you are aware of, creating 2 or 3 workers in one group. Okay, so here 3 replicas will form one group. Okay, one cluster. One of them will be behaving like a master, another will be behaving like a secondary node. Okay, so they will be creating some common memory space where they'll be putting, if you are going with, there are concepts of transient and persistent. Okay, if you are going with transient object store or transient VM. Now I'll tell you one more thing, okay? Because in coming slide, I wanted to tell you that in CloudHub 2.0, some features of CloudHub 1.0 are removed. Okay, so we'll talk about those. But cluster is forming a group. Okay, so if you are deploying 3 replicas, though out from outside, those will be like a single entity. Okay, they will be distributing load in case of if you have queues over there. Okay, so they will be actually internally they will be balancing the load. So it's like forming a group. Okay, group. Otherwise, if I don't check this checkbox, all these 3 replicas will be running independently in isolation mode. Okay, if I check this checkbox, those 3 will be running in one group. Okay, they will be knowing each other, everything. So all 3 replicas will be, at any point of time, they knows other replicas information, at any point of time. Okay, so they'll be sharing some memory, somewhere. It's a concept of Hazelcast, right? In case of server cluster, same concept here, but it won't use the Hazelcast over here. They will use some internal memory share concept.
One more question, Praveen.
Mhm.
If I'm giving 3 replica, will it be
Mhm.
a cluster of 2 replica or all 3 will form one?
All three will form. All 3 will form. There is no option here to select 2 replicas and 1 replica independent. Okay. One more enhancement it's done over here. In if you guys are remember of something about runtime fabric, in runtime fabric, when you say deploy on multiple replicas, there may be a possibility of deploying 2 replicas in one availability zone. So when you're going for runtime fabric deployment, there is one more checkbox over there that will say deploy application in different availability zone. Okay, there one more checkbox that also here they have enhanced now. So behind the scene, the algorithm will always take care of deploying these 3 replicas in 3 different data centers. Data centers mean in technical word it's availability zone. In region there will be a multiple availability zones. 3, 4, 2, like that, based on your region, how big your region is. Okay, so according to your region, you will get availability zones. And when you say 3 replicas, the 3 replicas will be deployed in 3 different availability zones. Okay, hope that is clear.
Yeah, one more question. In that
Hmm.
case, isn't it always good to use cluster mode? Where do we use more than 1 replica without cluster mode?
So if you want high availability only, okay. So high availability doesn't matter. You wanted to have any sharing between them. If you want something like to handle, internal load balancer. Okay, so for example, there is a queue, okay, and somebody is publishing content to that queue. Now you have three replicas, right? And you know the concept of VMQ, right? If it is not persistent, whoever is publishing that guy only consume that data or messages from that queue. If I make that queue persistent, okay, and if I create a cluster out of it, what will happen? That queue will be created in common space. Now somebody is publishing data to that data will be available, or that message will be available for consumption for all three nodes. Now anybody from three can consume that and start processing it. Now think about it, one scenario, okay, so if you don't go for cluster, okay, what will happen? You publish it, you only consume it. Now while publishing and consuming, you'll be busy. Now let's say you publish one more message over there, that message will be waiting, right? So if you make a cluster, and if you want internal load balancing, this is the solution for it.
One more, like there are
Mhm.
two questions. How will your scheduler-based application behave in the cluster?
Always it will run on primary node, okay, so it's always the scheduler, right? Scheduler always runs on primary by default. That is same in RTF, that is same in cloud. Okay, so if you are deploying on multiple nodes, it always runs in cloud of 1.0. It always is like the isolation, right? So it's runs on only one node, primary node. So there you see that, right? There's a checkbox for scheduler runs on primary node.
Okay. With the cluster mode, worker down issue can be avoided.
Worker down. What do you mean by that?
Like sometimes a worker will be down, so he is mentioning that.
So here in cloud of 1.0, worker means dedicated to one application over there, right? In cloud of 2.0, worker means it's a worker node of a cluster, and on that worker node you can have one or more pods created, and inside that pod your application will be running. So because this cloud of 2.0, as I mentioned, it's a backed up by EKS cluster. Okay, so EKS gives you a container based Kubernetes, and that will be running here. So whenever you are creating, I'll talk about it. Whenever you create a private space, that will create behind the scenes will create a cluster, EKS cluster. Okay, because we know that, right? CloudHub is completely backed up by AWS. So EKS will be, EKS cluster will be created for you. So whatever challenges we face in RTF, right, to create a Kubernetes cluster, containerizations, you need expert team. Everything will be, completely blacked out from here. So you don't need to worry about how the cluster is getting created for you, what all ports are getting, whitelisted over there and open for you. All those things, or whatever challenges we've, found while creating our own Kubernetes cluster, that is completely taken care by the Cloud of 2.0. Okay, so here worker is not exactly the worker in the cloud of 1.0. That worker was completely dedicated for one a application over there. Here it will be part of the cluster, and in that worker node there will be multiple pods created for you. Okay, so whenever you are deploying application, pod will be created based on the capacity of that particular worker. Once that capacity is, exhausted, new worker node will be created, and that will be completely taken care by the EKS cluster. You don't need to worry about it. Okay.
Okay. Do we have to check use object store v2 when running the replicas in cluster mode?
So when you are saying, right, so if your application has a object store by default it's a persistent, right? So in Cloud Hub, we have something called object store v2, right? It won't, getting stored on your in on your common space. Okay. So here in Cloud Hub 2, it's like a RTF only. Okay. So it will use object store v2 service. Okay. So once you check this, it will use object store v2, and the objects will be created in the same region. Okay. So that is what when you checked in. Okay, but in case of CloudHub 2.0, it's always checked in. It's always true for your applications.
That's it about Ashish. We are good.
Okay. Okay, so one more thing. Just in the runtime, we have seen three things, right? One is the replica size and replicas. We saw the clustering. Now deployment model. If you see here, rolling update, and there is one more option called recreate. So let's deploy with the rolling update and see what exactly it means. I have not changed anything. Okay, so whatever is default, I just went with that. Now let's look at these logs. Okay, one more very important point. That's why I am running like this. So if you see here, somewhere I read 200 MB. Okay, if experts are there, they can correct me. I heard somewhere that CloudHub 2.0 logs you can store still 200 MB, but I didn't see any documentation for that, and I could see here 100 MB only. I'm not sure whether it's a UI or is this is the correct one. So we'll take it 100 MB. Okay. So 30 days and 100 MB, which is exactly similar to the CloudHub 1.0. Okay. But I heard somewhere that till 200 MB we can store. And if you notice here, 100 MB is per config. What do you mean by that? Config means whenever you deploy application to your cluster over here, each application will keep the config. Okay. So I'll show you one more thing. What is happening when we are deploying this? Okay. It will first, before deploying application to the CloudHub 2.0, it will first publish this application to the exchange. Okay. I'll show you that. Okay. And then it will keep the copies of, or it keep the history. So it will keep the history in your runtime manager. You can anytime go back to the previous deployment. Now, how that deployment will get it? Since it is storing that these jars in your exchange, you can any point of time you can go back to the previous deployment and run that. Okay, so that's what each config means, the history, and you can go back to that history any point of time. So for example, you deployed in a production, now the current deployment is not working. What is the rollback strategy you have? Very simple rollback strategy here. You go back to the previous deployment and start running it. That's it. Okay, so it will then and manually go to the exchange. Okay, if you have access, and either delete the latest version from there, or you upgrade the version in your code and then publish the latest generated jar to the exchange and then start deploying it. Okay, so there are two options. Either immediately, if you want a downtime, you can stop everything, fix that whatever issue is there, and then do the redeploy. That is not allowed in production, right? So for rollback strategy, we'll go to the previous deployment which was working, we'll start that running, and then we'll work on our current deployment, what went wrong, what was the issue, whatever we'll see, and we'll fix it. But as it is that version, you cannot deploy it because it's getting maintained or source control in exchange. I'll show you where this guy is getting deployed. Okay, so since deployment is done, let me see whether it's deployed. So it's running now. Okay, I'll show you where it is getting deployed. So I'll go here, edit with text editor. So if you go here, right, go to exchange, a new tab, and come on, type is equal to app. Okay, type is equal to app and question mark, type is equal to app and show is equal to all. Okay, so you can see that hello world, this is the version, it's uploaded over here. Now whenever while deploy new application, it will come over and see it. Okay, So here you can see that hello world applications which I was I deployed it from the exchange. So if you want to see what all applications are deployed, and the same logic or same concept is used in runtime fabric also. It will first publish it to the exchange, and then it will deploy from there. Okay, so one thing over there you can see. Now if you go here, okay, one more thing I wanted to show you in the logs. Now if you look at the log, nowhere you see correlation ID. Nowhere in CloudHub 1.0, you will see, but you won't be able to search or you'll be able to track via correlation ID. That's what they are. But it is in roadmap. They will fix it. Okay, so the tracking with the correlation ID is not possible right now in the CloudHub 2.0. I mean, as of today. Okay, that's the one thing. Second thing is still showing 100 MB. Somewhere I read it 200 MB, but you can go ahead, still go ahead with the documentation and whatever is showing in the UI. So 100 MB, 30 days. That's the log in Cloud. And right now, if you see the object store in Cloud 2.0, we used to get here client ID and client secret even if you don't have object store in your application. That is removed here. Unless you use object store in your application, you won't get that client ID and client secret here. Or unless you use this option, okay, unless you use this option, you won't get that in your object store UI. Okay, now let's go back to the rolling update option now. Okay, so I'll do a small change and I'll show you what is the difference between rolling update and recreate. So let me go to the properties. Let me add new property here. Let's say Mule dot
Ash,
env. Yes.
okay, there's a question like, what is this config 1CD to the
Okay.
what is?
So if you build right, you'll get a tag. Okay. So let me. Okay. Can I finish this one?
Yeah,
I'll update this property and we keep this guy for deployment.
sure.
So if you see here, okay, now you can protect here itself your property. Now once you protect, okay, now it won't be visible at all. Nobody can see it. Nobody can retrieve this value. Okay, but it will be properly decrypted by your Mule runtime. It will properly used by your Mule runtime. Okay, so protected, and how to pass this from your maven commands and all that we'll see. Okay, in few more demos, but I wanted to show you now this option is added over here. It's not even visible. Nothing in our Cloud 2.0. How you hide it? Any idea? Yeah, I want
Top,
the answer in the chat. How you hide it? Any answer? Yeah, Sudhir, I
yeah,
heard
Mule
200 MB,
secure
but
properties,
yeah,
artifact is.
yeah, Mule artifact.json. Now we don't need to add there. Okay, I'll show you where we can add this, Sudhir. Okay, thanks. And we need to check that. We need to cross check 200 MB. There is no documentation for this. So far, maybe whether it's from the backend, it's storing in 200 MB, but the UI, since we are using, kind of CloudHub UI, so maybe it's there 100 MB. Okay, but we will keep that.
The,
Okay, yeah. Any questions?
the Kalyani Koloro, that question also we need to answer.
Now, a days all apps deployed via pipeline. In that case, how to select a shared space? Okay, okay. Basically, I'll show you that. Okay, I'll show you. So I have one demo for that. Okay, so let me see that. Okay, that time I'll answer that. Okay. Okay. I'll go back here. Okay, so now if I say apply changes, okay, I made a one change. Now here itself, okay, you can see view. So what is happening here? Okay, it won't touch this existing deployment. Okay, have a look at it. See, it started new. That means what? It's creating new pods and it's deploying to new pod. That means this is zero time deployment, zero downtime deployment. So this will come with rolling update option. If I go with the recreate option, I'll show you that one also, but have a look at it here. It's not touching this previous deployment. See here, this is the build tag we are getting for previous deployment. This config is, every config will be identified by this ID. Okay, this ID. So if you are really, worked on DevOps pipeline, you will see there every pipeline or every source control that will give a ID, build ID. That is what this one. Okay, this ID will be used for getting the replica from the exchange. Okay, if you want to go back, this is the ID that will go back to the exchange, get that jar and deploy it again. Okay, is that clear? Somebody was asking what is this config 1C D1 2D, right? So that is a build tag. So for previous build, what was how you'll identify, right? Basically every build will get a tag. So how you see one pod is created here, one is gone from here. See, all three are up, all three are now some new tag which is now getting used for this current deployment. Now if I go back and change, if I go to deployment target, let me show you that recreate. Okay, and guys, these are all feature of runtime fabric. I'm not showing new. Okay, these all are coming from runtime fabric. Okay, so recreate is there in runtime fabric. Now if I go and add one more property, or let's say delete this property, okay, I just deleted it, apply the changes. Now let me show you here itself. I don't want to go anywhere else. So I'm applying now. Have a look at it. All three will be deleted first. Now when we should go for recreate, I'll tell you why this option is here and why that rolling option is there. Now both options, why we need these both options. Okay,
So, Ashish, this is like how currently we have in Cloud 1.0. Like when we do any update, for some time the API is not available, saying no
no, no,
listener.
no, 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 no. Hold on. I'll come back. Now see,
Yeah.
all three are deleted and all three are recreating. That means right now my app is down. You're getting it? My app is down right now. Okay. So let me quickly try to show something. Okay. If I go here, don't take me wrong. I have a habit of explaining like this. Okay. So now let's say you have a cluster. Okay. And let's say you have license of 6 week core. 6 week core. Okay. You have license of 6 week core. Now you have one worker node, two worker node, three worker node, and there will be control nodes. I don't care. Okay, how many there are, 2 or 3 or whatever. Okay, so these are my worker nodes. Now think about it. When I use this recreate option, RC, and when I use this rolling update option, definitely if I want the zero downtime, then this is the option. But for this, I need to have my vCore space available. Unless I have vCore available, I won't be able to do and create new worker and start deploying it. Or on the same worker, I'll create new pod and start deploying. Unless I have this space available. Now think about it. All 6 vCores are consumed by these 3 worker nodes. Okay. Now you want to deploy new application. Definitely that is not going to work. But if you want to redeploy an existing application which is deployed over all 3 nodes or somewhere, okay, what will happen? You'll go with the recreate option. This option still works for your existing applications. Existing, I'm saying. New application, definitely there is no space, nothing will happen. Both options will fail. But if you're restarting your existing application which is deployed over here on 3 nodes, there is no space available, a recreate option will work. How? Whatever is deployed, it will delete first. That means it will create a space for you. And in that new space, it will deploy your applications. Is that clear? Rolling, recreate and rolling update. Rolling update, if there is no space, it's not going to work. You need to have your vCores available. Okay, otherwise it won't work. Okay, fine. Now there is something called in RTF, there is something called node auto scaling. Okay, I'm not sure whether that is still supported by CloudHub 2.0. There is something called node auto scaling, which is supported by self-managed Kubernetes, not with appliance. Okay, be specific. Node auto scaling is there. Now I'm not sure whether you guys are aware of it. What is node auto scaling? Let me quickly show you. So for example, you have 6 vCores, but you used 2 vCores for this guy. So 2 are consumed by this, 2 are consumed by this, and these are the only 2 worker nodes you have in your cluster right now. So forget about this one. Okay, this is not there. So in your, for example, we have worker node 1, worker node 2, you have controller node over here, C, and now this is the setup we have. Now let's say this worker node, whatever processing capacity was there, 2 vCore, 2 vCore here, and I have license of 6 vCore. Let's say these 2 vCores are already exhausted by this both worker node. Now I want to deploy new application where it will get deployed. No way, there is no option over here. If it is appliance setup, it will fail. Okay, now if it is a self-managed Kubernetes, then there is an option, automatically one worker will be created for you. That worker node will be added to your cluster, and whatever remaining over there, definitely there has to be space. Okay, there has to be a unused vCore over there, then only this worker node will be spin up for you and added to your cluster, and then the new application will be deployed. This is for self-managed Kubernetes. I don't know, I don't have knowledge whether this concept or this kind of setup is still there in your CloudHub 2.0. Okay, if it is there, that's well and good, but I'm not sure about it. Okay, any questions? Sorry.
No, Ashish, we are good.
Okay, so now let's.
One question from Ashok.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does CloudHub 2.0, does we have auto scaling policy?
Auto scaling policy, yes, it's supporting, but right now it's not there. It's there in the roadmap. Okay, it's there in the roadmap. Auto scaling policy is that it's supported. It's there in the roadmap. Okay. Okay, so I answered this. What is the benefit on recreate or rolling update? Right? When we should go for recreate? Yeah, recreate. If you are okay with downtime and if you aren't already exhausted your vCores, then recreate is the only option, and that is for existing applications. You can go ahead and change that. Okay. For 0.1 vCore, how many replicas can be created? Replicas. Minimum is 0.1 vCore here, okay? Anish, 0.1 vCore, you can create only one replica. Okay, so if you are creating new replica, that will also consume 0.1 vCore. Minimum is 0.1 vCore here in CloudHub 2.0. In Runtime Fabric, it's a 0.02. That I understand why you're asking this question. So 0.1 vCore, only one replica, okay? Okay, can I use mic to ask question? Yeah, Sudhir, go ahead. Yeah, can you enable this mic?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back to mine. Okay, so if you have questions, please go ahead
Hey Ashish.
and.
So it's like for the rolling update, when I'm going to create a cluster, let's say I'm creating a cluster for 2 replica each, and when I'm going to do the deployment, and it's a recreate deployment. So how the cluster will process? Like it's a automated one. It will like the so you showed me that when we are going to redeploy it, once the first node is deployed, the another one will be removed from the earlier one. So
Correct.
will it act in a same way with the multiple cluster?
Multiple cluster. What do you mean by multiple cluster?
So when I'm going to use, let's say for 3 replica, I have created one
Three replica
cluster.
means one cluster only. If you're
Yes.
going with that option, that checkbox is there. Unless you check that, it won't create any cluster.
Yeah. But if I'm checking for 2 replica for one cluster, then
Yeah, I just now showed you, right? I ran 3, right? If you remember, I ran with 3, right? 3 replicas I have, and those are there in one cluster. That's what I did. That's why my intention was to showing you. That's what I did. Remember, in the deployment target, if you see, I have 3 replicas. Each replica will consume 0.1 Pico. That is the minimum in CloudHub 2.0. And then I went with the cluster mode. Okay, and I showed you how it behaves in rolling update. Rolling update, it was 0 downtime. My app, I mean the downtime for my app was completely gone, right? And then when I use a recreate, what it did, it deleted all 3 first. All 3 replicas are deleted from the cluster and then redeployed.
Okay, got it.
Okay, you got my point, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about this. Now, the first tab, I think first tab is clear. Everybody's, okay with this, right? Runtime version, replica size, and replicas running this mode. This one, and deployment model. Both are clear. Okay. Now let's jump onto the ingress. Now, ingress is something which is exactly similar to the in the shared space. We'll get shared load balancer. This is shared load balancer. Okay, here in case of CH2.0. Now, Ingress will get the public URL here. Okay. Now, my question to everyone. So, I won't. So, since I've deployed in the shared space, I won't be able to update the public endpoint over here. But when I deploy to the private space, I'll show you how to update it. Okay. You can have multiple public endpoint for your application, and how it works, I'll show you that. Okay. But if you look at the template of this URL, let me copy this. The template of this URL is, so in case of our, I know if you remember the CloudHub 1.0, it's like app name, okay, then you'll get dot, you'll get region, right, and then you'll get CloudHub.io, right. This was a template for CloudHub 1.0, but in CloudHub 2.0, have a look at it. This is the name of my app. Then there is something called hyphen this one value, and then there is something called this. Okay, so guys, this is the region, this is CloudHub.io, which is already as same as this. Okay, now let's try to extend this URL from CloudHub 1.0 to CloudHub 2.0. So here there'll be unique ID added. Okay, here, and new thing will be added, something called shard ID. Shard ID is belongs to your space, whether it's a shared space or private space. This will be unique. Okay, so your private space will get this. So when we create a private space, the domain name will be created something like this. Okay, so Control C, and you'll get a default TLS with this. I'll show you, but just wanted to paste it here. Something like this. Shard ID will be there, region will be there, CloudHub.io will be there. Okay, so that is what private. In case of public, same, this unique ID will be created for each and every application. This shard ID will be created for your space, and rest of the thing is okay. So this is how your URL. If you look at this URL, now you can see app name, hello world shared space, then unique ID added over here, 23EXMN, and then shard ID. This is shard ID of your space, and then region, Australia, Sydney, right? And then CloudHub.io. If I go back to my this one, now I don't have option to add any endpoint because I have deployed in public space. That's the reason it says okay. So some features are disabled here. If you want to really see those features, you can go ahead and now there is a path rewrite here. Forward SSL is there. Last mile security is there. We'll see in the private space all these options. Okay. Any questions on this? Ingress. Ingress is your load balancer, guys. And here in CloudHub 2.0, it's free. It's free for your public space. It's free for your private space. Okay. So in case of private space, it will be behaving like a dedicated load balancer. In your public space, it will be behaving like a shared load balancer. Okay. Any questions over here?
Yes, Ashish, there is.
Yes. Go ahead.
If I add 3 workers and 6 vehicles, how do we know there is unused vehicles and go with the rolling strategy?
Unused vCore and rolling strategy. Good question. Okay, so if you are so hmm. So the vCore assignment will be there on business group level. Okay. So business group level, you'll get the number of vCores. And I think the other way of, I'm not sure. The only option I could see, the get the reports. That's how we do for our deployment. If you really want to see that way, how many vCores I have consumed, and see if you don't have access to access management. Okay, if you have access to access management, you can answer that question. But if you are at, if you want to see that, okay, whether it's unused, so there are platform APIs available. You can go ahead and get it, and that's the way you can know. Any other answer from the anybody's know how to get that unused? It won't be visible in the runtime manager base. Okay, it will be visible only access management. So that's what I could see. The answer, you need to get the unused for your business group, for your environment. Okay, that's only all answer I could get right now. Any other question?
Yeah. So now with the CloudHub 2.0, we can create the application with the same name multiple times.
Yes, yes, possible. No restriction on name, because it's adding unique name over there, and there is no access with the names now. I'll show you that in the Anypoint CLI. Okay, if I time permits, I'll show you. In CloudHub 1.0, we used to access our application by name because the name was unique. Now I cannot tell any application name because it's adding the unique ID with that. So every application will get ID. Okay, and that ID will be using just like a namespace in the runtime fabric, right? Each application will get a namespace and then ID. Same concept is here. So while Anypoint CLI, I'll show you that I won't be able to use a name at all. But in CloudHub 1.0, we'll use a name, application name, for getting the description about that or information about that application. But in CloudHub 2.0, we need to use ID. Okay, I'll show you that.
Uh,
Okay. Hmm.
and one more question. So,
Hmm.
will the URL be static for the deployment as long as it is not deleted?
Yeah, it will be static. Okay, unless you delete and deploy it again, it will be static. Okay.
And Ravi asked you to repeat what will happen if you uncheck cluster mode.
Uncheck cluster node. Uncheck cluster means simply isolation. Three replicas will be running in a different world. Okay, altogether. Just the HTTP load balancing will happen. So from the load balancer, the request will go to all the replicas. Okay, if I create a, I told you, right? If you want internal load balance, then go for clustering. If you really don't want that, go without cluster. Okay, clustering always little slow than the without cluster. Without cluster is independent. Okay, they are not sharing anything. They don't really waste time in syncing all the nodes in cluster, right? They will spend some time on syncing. If some state got changed on the one replica pod, that will get synced with the other and the rest of the guys. And always in clustering concept, there is something called quorum size. Okay, so if you have three nodes in your in your cluster, then there is a concept, it has to be, so 3 by 2 is 1, right? 3 by 2 is 1. So your quorum size should be greater than half of your cluster. So they always go with, let's say 4 are there, then half, it will go with 2 plus 1. Always odd numbers, always odd number is there in the cluster concept. That's what they go with. The quorum size they will set, and that quorum size will tell you on how many pods this replication has to happen. Replication is nothing but keeping the state. If that primary node goes down, then that same information will be there on one more node, and that space will be accessible with all the nodes, all the worker nodes. Okay, so anybody can become the primary node once your primary node goes down. Okay, and other than primary node, somebody else also will be having all the information, and randomly one guy will become the primary node, and based on the quorum size, that memory will get replicated to that server also. Okay, so there is concept of quorum size, there is concept of Hazel's concept and all that. Okay, if you don't run in cluster mode, all replicas will be independent. Okay.
Yeah, we are good, Ashish. Go ahead.
Okay, so I want to move. Okay, so because a lot of things, so somebody was asking one question, right? In CI/CD pipeline, how to select the shared space? Now, guys, are you able to see target name here? Use this name. This name is talking about your shared space for a specific region. This name you need to use in your target name. Okay, I'll show you. Okay, so I'll show you how that looks, in your configuration. You need to configure that Mule Maven plugin, right? There you need to add this. Okay, so I'll show you that in. Okay, so let's go back quickly. So properties, only one option here. You can add protected, and you can go ahead here, and logging is kind of similar to the CloudHub. Okay, now let's go quickly. This is about your shared space. Let's create a private space quickly. Okay, and then we'll discuss more. So private space is nothing but similar to your VPC. Okay, so I'll just give a name. Okay, so I'm just creating one space. Okay, make sure you have license for that. So I have license. If I go quickly, you can go ahead and check your license here. Okay, so you can go ahead and check your license here. Okay, so you need to have this VPC license over here. Okay, so VPC and private space are equal. Okay, now let me go back quickly. Okay, now when you are creating, so you need to create a private network here and create connection. Okay, so private network is nothing but you're configuring VPC and you are selecting, okay, what region and what is a CIDR block. So name of the VPC and name of the CIDR block and name of the regions, these are two required fields, and you need to be very careful when you are giving this, right? Same concept which we used in CloudHub 1.0. So I'm using, let's say I'm using I use something else, Asia specific Singapore, and CIDR block I'm using 10.1.0.0/20. Okay, okay, it will create, it will take some time. Okay. So here if you notice, okay, so I got this DNS. See, this is the default DNS. I got it for my private space. Now remember, this is your shard ID. Okay, this is your region, and this is cloudhub.io. Okay, now CIDR block. If you want to add internal DNS in your data centers, if you are using some DNS servers, you can add those there, add over here. You can go ahead and say configure, and their IP addresses and their domain name, abc.com or ashish.com or Coimbatore meetup.com, whatever, which are not available publicly. So those you can go ahead and add it here at VPC level. Okay. Okay, so it will create this network. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, but it will create fast. But see, so let me show you VPN and transit gateway. Okay, so I have a diagram for this. So let me quickly pick that one. Somewhere, are you able to see? This VPN and not this one. Not this one. Come on. Private space networking. Hope you guys are able to see. So once this is created, okay, you'll get inbound static IPs and outbound static IPs. Inbound static IPs and outbound static IPs based on your region and availability zones. Whether you'll get 2 or you'll get 3. Okay, that is completely based on your availability zones. Okay, how many availability zones are there on your particular region. So when we should use this static IPs, outbound static IPs and inbound static IPs, when you want to control or whitelist. So for example, from your private space, you're trying to connect some SFTP. Let's say one example, and that SFTP only allow whitelisted IP addresses. Any idea, guys? Any idea in CloudHub 1.0 how you do it? So this is the requirement. Let's say there is a SFTP server. You want to connect it, and that SFTP server only allow whitelisted IP addresses. Now, how will you do it in CloudHub 1.0? This kind of scenario. Expert can add their points. Anybody? How will you add it? Static IP. Static IP you need to buy, right? So static IP to your IP whitelisting policy. IP whitelisting policy. You apply on your API, right? I want to connect that. So static IP, yeah, VPN. Now VPN also won't allow you. VPN, how can you add that SFTP to your VPN? VPN, yeah, VPN you generally do with your data center, right? This SFTP is somewhere else. Whitelist our CIDR block. CIDR block is private address. How can you add that? Private address you cannot add. Do we have public CIDR block available? Suchitra. Okay. No way. The answer is static IP. But you need to buy it. Okay. These are not free. So you need to add this static IP to your assign actually to your application. From your applications you are connecting to that particular system. So that static IP has to be whitelisted over there. Okay. Static IP is the answer, but in our case it's very easy. So we are getting outbound static IPs. We can use those for whitelisting over there. Okay, let me go back. Clean now. Okay, still it's creating. Okay, what I was showing you the diagram. Now we have option to connect your data center, your private data center, your private network via only two options: VPN and transit gateway. Now VPC peering and AWS Direct is gone. Okay, it's not there now. They're not going to support it also. There is no roadmap for that. AWS Direct, VPC peering is gone. Now they are giving more weightage to the transit gateway, and both these guys are not. We don't need to involve the MuleSoft support at all. Okay, these are self-service. And if you look at this, I don't need to go to different window and create this. They have given this intuitive UI so that while creating private space itself, one by step, they are asking questions we need to answer. So if you have transit gateway, connection or setup, you can go ahead and add it here. If a VPN, you can go ahead and add it. Now with the VPN, okay, very, very important point. With the VPN, they have given the high availability option now. You can go ahead and create redundant VPN for your VPN. Now you remember when you do maintenance for your VPN, that time your application will face downtime. Now that option is gone. That problem is now solved by creating redundant VPN. Now how many VPNs you can create with your private space? How many static IPs you can have with your private space? How many internal DNS servers you can add? There is a limit. Okay, we'll discuss that in coming slides. But this is how you can redundant your VPN with this option. And this redundant VPN will inherit the properties of your already created VPN. Okay, like if it is BGP, it will inherit that. If it is the remote IP address, all those will be inherited, and will create redundant VPN for this VPN to make it highly available. So VPN high availability achieved by this option. Am I clear over here? So these three options you can see when you fully configure your route table, your transit gateway, your VPN, and you have option to create redundant VPN here. Okay. Hope that is clear. Okay, so it will take some time before we'll wait for this. Now let's go to the next tab, domain and TLS. as I mentioned, we'll get the default TLS, which is comes with this. See here, this is your private space RTF cloud.io. Now we can add TLS. We can add multiple TLS. Let's go ahead and see. You can go ahead and choose. Let me select my workspace. Okay, so go to certificates. Now I have created some self-signed guys. Okay, so I'll select this is for one. So you can see here it's a wildcard certificate. Okay, Coimbatore.Meetup.com. Private key I'll select this one, and I'll keep my key empty. Okay, so if it is unencrypted, okay, which is not recommended, but for our demo we'll just keep empty. So if it is unencrypted, you don't need key to decrypt. I don't have CA path certificate. I don't want to add any Truststore because I don't want to enable it is two-way SSL. Okay, now you can go ahead and do this. Okay, so create TLS. Invalid value provided by the key passphrase. Key passphrase. Key passphrase. No. Don't. Okay. Okay, so you can see here now. I have one more TLS. Quickly, I'll go ahead and try to add that also. So if you go ahead, I have one more thing. Mule S Academy. Choose one more. You can go ahead private. Now, why I'm doing it? Let me answer that. Why I'm doing like this? I'm doing intentionally. Okay. So first thing I wanted to show that you can upload multiple TLS here. Okay, TLS context. Now you see, I have Mule S Academy also, and I have Coimbatore Mule Meetup also. Okay. Now this guy. Okay, we'll come back to this point. Why I did it. So let's look at the firewall rules. Now, in case of CloudHub 1.0, can anyone tell me how is there a way to control the outgoing traffic? I want the answer. Anybody? Is there a way to control the traffic from CloudHub 1.0? If I'm calling something, can I control it? Can I say I'll allow only HTTPS traffic? Can I say I'll allow only traffic to this particular IP addresses? No, there is no way. Okay. So to do that, there is a very simple approach over here, and they have given in CloudHub 2.0. Now we can say we can control outbound traffic also here. So for example, I'll allow only HTTPS traffic. Okay, so now I cannot call any HTTP API from my private space at all. I wanted to make sure that all my traffic which is going outside, that has to be secured, encrypted. Okay, so this is how we should do it. Okay, and then the rest of the thing environment, which is exactly similar to the CloudHub 1.0. Okay, environment and advanced. Only one thing I could see here is, okay, so these options are still there in similar to the dedicated load balancer, and this is a default. Now one more thing, in CloudHub 1.0, we cannot download the load balancers logs. Okay, here there is option, straightforward options. You can download your Ingress load balancer logs, and if you want to look at specific logs for specific IP address, you can go ahead and add that also, custom log levels. That is also possible. Now one more role they have added, since this complete framework or architecture, right, is backed up by AWS. If you have AWS account, if you have AWS role over there, you can add it here, and those AWS resources you can see it here. Okay, you can access it from your private space, those resources. What all resources? I have not tried it, but this option will give you to connect your AWS account and access those resources. whether it's a transit gateway or whether it's a EC2 instance, I don't know. Okay, but this option will give you to access those resources from your AWS. Okay, I'm not going to add this. I'm not going to add this. Hope these options, everybody is clear with this. So it will redirect as it is to HTTPS. It will accept HTTP. If you are sending HTTP, then it will drop. These are the three options there also. 300 is the default time to your CloudHub 2.0 will wait for your application to respond. Okay. Now, if this won't respond, your applications won't respond in that time period, your CloudHub 2.0 will throw error. Okay, and that error will be gateway timeout error. Okay. Okay, so let's create this private space, since I think hope we have enough information to create this. Now quickly let it be create. Okay, I want to show and ask one question. I have deployed one application on shared space. I have deployed one application on CloudHub. Now, if you go here, how much I have consumed? 0.3 for those 3 replicas in shared space and 0.1 for my CloudHub. Okay. Now, very important point here, guys. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and stop this. So, only the stop option is there. Okay. There is no restart option here in case of CloudHub 2.0. Okay. Stop. Now, question to everyone. Where it is? Question to everyone, whether it will still consume the vCore or not. Somebody says no. Okay. Abhishek, no. Okay. Yeah. So whoever says yes, and that guy will get a trophy. Okay. Okay. So to avoid it, yes, Sudhir, thanks everyone. Okay. So now if you look at it, I wanted to show you that. So let's go where it is. Okay. It's not running now. Okay. Now let's go to the refresh it. See 0.4 still. Now if I go back and not running, right? If I go back to this and if I say setting, I intentionally I wanted to show this. Okay. Because when you are deploying it, we should be very careful. Unless you delete CloudHub 2.0 applications, it will still consume your vCores. Now, if I go here and refresh it, see 0.3. So this is the difference between your CloudHub 1.0 and 2.0. Okay. Okay, I think I have done almost all the thing here. Let's quickly jump on to the Anypoint Studio. Okay. Any questions over here, guys? That's what we have CloudHub 2.0. Okay, so I think I want not this one. Sorry, private space. Hope it is created now. Okay. Any questions? Still it is creating. Fine.
No, Ashish, we are good.
Okay. So now quickly I wanted to show you Anypoint CLI and Maven, how we can do that. Somebody was asking me. So for that, I think I need to, because I moved all my jars from there to here. Okay. One question. Okay. Not here. Where are my questions? Okay. Okay, so I think, okay, I'll answer this. Okay, so this one is done. Ingress load balancer is done. We have answered this also. Okay. Is it possible to run any application on 8081 in CloudHub 2.0? Okay. Quick question to everyone. Since our private space is getting created, any clue on that? Can we run? Okay, will it be drawn by this consuming? Okay. Okay. So Vijay, actually, yeah, your answer is correct. But I actually played with Go to 8082 in no. Sudhir, what are you trying to say? Okay, so guys, I don't have that much time to show you, but let's see. Import. Char. Sorry guys, I actually moved on the last moment. I moved it from my actual machine to some other machine. Hmm. Let me check this. Okay, so let me show you this. Okay, so what I did, I have created two flows over here. Okay, and one flow is running on 8082. So if I show you the configuration, obviously, if the traffic goes via Ingress controller, Ingress load balancer, there is no way you can access anything other than 8081. But look at this, okay? I have application which is running on 8082. I have one more flow which is running on 8081. Now 8081 flow is calling this 8082 flow, and it works. It works in CloudHub 2.0. If my private space is running, I can show you. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you guys. Okay, but since why it's taking this much time? It's still creating. Okay, but IP addresses are shown up there. Okay, now we'll go ahead and I'll just import one more thing. Jar. Okay, I think I'm running out of time, so quickly what I'll do, I wanted to show one Maven deployment. Okay, how we can use the Maven plugin to deploy our application. So I'll say MMP. Since this MMP, Anypoint CLI, these are upgraded now. Okay, so I'll show you what difference they made it here, because they spent a lot of effort on this. So first, we need to upgrade our Maven plugin. Okay, so since I have already nodes, I'll pick it from here and I'll show you. It's the first I need to add this plugin to my, where we'll add this. It will go here and this plugin. Okay. Now, if you notice, Control A, Control Shift F. If you notice, I mean, this is my latest project, right? I got Mule Maven plugin, something called 3.5.4. This Maven plugin is not going to work with CloudHub 2.0 deployment. Okay, so you need something called 3.7 and above. One change. Okay, if you refer this Mule version over here, that's what in the old, if you see Control Z, see it's referring that version, and that is not going to work. Okay, one change. Okay, I'll go back. Now somebody was asking me how to deploy the application. So first change is, if you look at this tag now, CloudHub 2 deployment. Provider is something called MuleSoft container. This we need to add because the behind architecture is RTF only, runtime fabric. So in runtime fabric also you will provide the provider. Environment is same here. Target we need to select. So I'm selecting target called that Southeast shared space, and this is there in Southeast 2. Mule version, make sure you are giving above 4.3.0. And this is the credentials I used. Okay, so let me check my my setting.xml. Okay, so I'll just go back. I'll update this. Okay, so I'll add one server over here. Control C. Okay, I'll copy this ID. This is ID in setting.xml. Okay, and my credentials. And password. Okay. Save. Okay. So this is my setting.xml credentials. It will give me the platform. Okay, and then you need to give application name, your replica, how many replica you want, vCourse properties. Look at these properties carefully. Now we have something called secure properties tag here. Now if I pass anything under this secure properties, I'll get in runtime manager, I'll get those properties as protected automatically. Okay, so you don't need to pass that in the mule-artifact.json. Here itself, we can mention what all property you wanted to send as a protected. Okay, save this. Okay, try to make it 1.0 here, and here try to add the business group ID. So what I'll do quickly, I'll go to my open a new tab. Come on. I'll tell you why I'm doing this, because normally we don't need if you want to deploy it to CloudHub. Okay, I'm doing it intentionally. I'll tell you why. Okay, so with this configuration, your deployment is not going to work. With this configuration, it looks fine, right? If I deploy with this setup, if I deploy to CloudHub 1.0, it will work like champ. But in case of CloudHub 2.0, it won't work. Why? Why? Answer is the deployment works like a runtime fabric. If you guys remember, if you deploy something from runtime manager automatically first build that jar and upload it to exchange, and from there it will start deploying it to the runtime plane. Here, if I save this, okay, let me do that. Save this, and let's go to the properties here quickly. Come on. Properties. And go inside. Command line. Okay, so if I say mvn clean package and say deploy, and if I say -d mule deploy, let me run. Okay, and you'll see the error. Okay, let's see. With this command, it will, without any error, it will deploy to CloudHub, right? 1.0, but it won't deploy here. Okay, meanwhile, I'll check whether my private space is up and running. Come on, yeah. It's taking time. Yeah, done. Okay, cool. So we'll deploy to this space also something. Okay. Okay. So we'll see this deployment. It's taking its own time. Meanwhile, we'll go here and try to deploy something. Okay. So applications, and I'll deploy one application where I can show multiple options. Okay. So I'll go and upload. I am trying to show you two things. Okay. One is this one. Okay. Hope that is. Yeah. Now, if you go here, my private space, and we give a name. Let's see, Control V. Okay. Now in Ingress, okay, I'm not selecting this option. Okay. And now I'm going to show you demo on what is last mile security. Now, if you see here, okay, we are deploying it. Now see, it's automatically picking the one of the TLS. Now I can create 3 endpoints for this. One endpoint with a default TLS. Okay. One endpoint with default TLS, which is add endpoint. If I go here, so this is the default one. Okay, you'll get a default. One more endpoint I can add, which is my Mule S Academy. Now see, for my applications, these are 3 public URLs. These 3 public URLs. Okay. Now, not only 3 different public URLs, you can even change the path. So, for example, let's say your path is something, your URL, and say v1/API. This path is there, okay? But you want to change this. You can even go ahead and change this. Here you can add whatever path you want. For example, let's say you want only /API. You can go ahead here, and in the path override, what was the old path which you want to override, that you can add it here, v1 API. Okay? This, even you can override the path. You can have multiple URLs. Okay? Or, now one question to everyone again. How you will manage? Okay, so I'll show this question to everyone first. Apply the changes. Let me apply the changes. And where is my question? Okay. How to stop public internet access to specific API in CloudHub 1.0? Any answer quickly? If I want to stop public access to my API, which is running in my private DLP mapping rule, okay, IP blacklisting. IP blacklisting will allow on all the APIs, guys. DLP mapping rule will apply on all the APIs. 8091, 8092. Then you need to have DLP, right? Via DLP I can access, correct? I want to stop. Nobody can access that. I have 10 experience API. Out of 10 experience API, one of the API I want to say that nobody will access it. It should be accessed only within the private space. How we do it? In CloudHub 1.0. Yes, DLP mapping rule, but Sridharan, that DLP mapping rule will be applicable to all the APIs, correct? Not only single API. Blacklisting, yes, this blacklisting will be applicable to all the APIs because you are writing on DLP level. Firewall rules, nobody talked about firewall rules. Firewall rules will be applicable to entire VPC and entire private space. DLP, yeah, 8091, 8092. If you want to stop, right? Definitely all will call no. Okay, so the option in our CloudHub 1.0, the not direct option is there. Oh, we have internal load balancer. Okay, and on that internal load balancer, we'll just put the whitelisting of our CIDR block of our VPC. That means none of the process API or system API, that is a requirement of process API and system API, right? None of the process API and system API will be directly accessible from public internet. So your internal DL will be there. That, but from that said, all are now hidden, right? Let's say one of them you want to make it private. The option is in cloud. It's very easy. Sorry, let's show you in CloudHub. Any idea? Go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and delete all these public URL. Delete all these public URLs. Okay. Now your API publicly, this API, this particular app is not accessible from public internet at all. Anytime you can go back and add the URLs. So easy. See, you can select whichever TLS you want. Go ahead and do this. Clear? Any questions on this? Since I have less time, I'm little speeding up. Okay. So yeah. So is that clear? We can stop the public access simply deleting this public endpoint. And since I have deployed in my private space, I'm able to edit it. Okay. Now only since I have deleted public URL, let's say, right? Means there is no. So how will I access this particular API? There is a private URL here. Go ahead and use that private URL. Okay. So you'll get a private URL. You can go ahead and you can I don't know what happened. Build failure. No primary artifact to install. Installing attached artifact. Any idea why it's saying no primary artifact to install? Installing attached artifacts. So the answer to this is why this is failing, because this jar is not available in the exchange. See, have a look at it. Right? This jar is not available on the exchange. That's the reason we are not able to. Now what we need to do, we need to go to your pom.xml here and add one more property, deployment, distribution management, this one. Go ahead, Control C, go to your pom.xml, after build, above dependencies. Now, if you want to upload it to exchange, you need this distribution management and you need this group ID. That's the reason I added this group ID. Otherwise, for my deployment, I don't need it. To upload it to exchange, these guys actually referring to that project.group ID, and I need to pass that actual business group ID over here. Okay, so first what I need to do, first I need to go and run this command. Okay, without this it will try to deploy it to exchange. Let's go ahead and deploy it to exchange first, and then later you can run that command which we ran for this part. Okay, so that means I need to go ahead and first run this command and then second run this command. So it will publish that asset to the exchange, and that asset will be used for this guy. And I showed you how to access that asset. Hope everybody is able to see that asset. Here. Yes, if I refresh it, see now one jar we have deployed, right? That is coming over here now. Now the one which we are uploading now, that will also come here. Okay, and sits here. Okay, so you need to first publish it to the exchange and then deploy it. So second, what happens? Distribution management, what is wrong? URL parameter, deployment failed, repository. What is wrong? ID is fine. This is fine. URL is fine. Let me check my setting.xml. Update it or not. It looks fine. IT. Mhm. Any idea? Anybody is aware of this error? Distribution management element, or I think pom.xml, I have not saved it. Wow, great. Okay. Now if I run it again, it will work. Since I have not saved it. Okay, so meanwhile, let it deploy. It will upload that asset to the exchange. And if you run that command, it will deploy it to the CloudHub 2.0. Now, important is this one. You need to very careful what is the exact value for this target. Okay. If you go here in the target, it won't be visible unless you deploy any application. In the deploy target, you won't be able to see that. Only it will be visible over here. So now it is a private space. You will use this name, target name. It will get deployed in your particular private space. Okay. Okay. It's deployed now. See, if I go to my exchange now, if I refresh it, I'll be able to see MMP deployment asset now. If I go back and run this command now, it will deploy this to my shared space, which is some region. Okay, it will show you where it is getting deployed. Okay, I have 15 minutes. I'll jump on to the Anypoint CLI quickly, but for that I need to check what is my setting and all for Anypoint CLI. Okay, but very simple. For Anypoint CLI, I can explain it here itself. Here itself. Okay, so now we have two different Anypoint CLI commands. One command, if you write simply, so these are runtime manager command, right, for deployment. So if you say runtime manager application, then it will only talk about these CloudHub 2.0 applications. The moment I say runtime manager CloudHub -application, then it will be your CloudHub 1.0 application. So you need to be, you just go ahead and look at these commands. Anypoint CLI is updated for CloudHub 2.0. So as I mentioned, right, if I say runtime manager application, then it only talk about the CloudHub 2.0 application. So if I have time, let me quickly check my .anypoint, my credentials. I'll just update and quickly show you. Okay. Okay. What is the business group name? Coimbatore. Meetup. Control C. Okay. I see it's getting deployed now. Have a look at it. This is getting deployed via Maven command. Okay. You can see it's running. See properly, and where it got deployed. See, it's deployed in shared space. Shared space. Okay. And properties I wanted to show you, right? See the HTTPS port. If you remember, in the secured properties, what I have passed HTTPS dot port 8081. Okay, and I pass normal property here HTTP dot port. Both the properties you can see here. One property is visible, another property is not visible, and nobody can view it. You use anything, it won't be visible at all. Okay, you can protect it here from here itself. The option. Okay, and we can go ahead and I'm not sure what path I used for it. If I go and let me mmp. Hey, we didn't add any code. Hey, come on. Just changed pom.xml and deployed it. Hey, man. Okay, so that's go back. The deployment is successful. Let me start my Anypoint. Okay, I think it's not updated for me, I guess. Okay, guys, I have not updated my Anypoint CLI. If it works fine, otherwise it's connected properly. And let's see. Let's copy the command. Runtime manager applications. Cool. Okay, so you can see here we are able to see. Now I told you it works with the IDs. Now, if you look at this ID, copy, and you can say describe and pass that ID, give detail about that application. But if you see, only one property is visible here. Okay, the other property is not visible because it's protected. Okay, clear. And now I have one CloudHub property also there, right? CloudHub application also. Here I need to say tab. I need to say CloudHub application. Okay, CloudHub application, and then I need to say list. What happened? The space. Okay. See now this time it will show you the CloudHub specific, CloudHub 1.0 specific applications. These are all changes are so you can go ahead and explore it. Runtime manager. Now finally, if you see, we have now separate platform API, CloudHub 2.0 API. See here, but here they are only given access to see the VPNs and transit gateway. Nothing else than this. Right now, only transit gateway and VPN you can access via CloudHub 2.0 API. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Anypoint CLI, our Mule Maven plugin deployment, and then finally the architecture. Okay. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll talk about limitations. Okay. Any questions, Palkish?
No, Ashish, we are good.
Okay. So guys, give me a 5 minutes. So I'll just walk you through the slides now. Hope that's what I was planned. I planned for the live demos. So now this is how it looks. Okay. So you have control plane. Okay, and you have runtime plane, which is backed up by your EKS cluster, and it's auto scaling enabled on it. Okay. So whenever you create your private space, by default, out of the box, it will create EKS cluster for you, and it will be available for you. Okay, and private space is multi-tenancy. You can have multiple uh, workers there, and in each worker you will get a pod, separate pod, and in each workspace you'll get a dedicated load balancer called Ingress. Okay, Ingress load balancer. They have increased in security like anything. So if you look at the first security we have seen is the outbound firewall rules. So you can control the complete outbound traffic where you want to send it. They have given the static IPs Okay, and for each application they have given multiple public URLs. You can use them. For dedicated client, you can create dedicated URL. One, you can change that path. I showed you, right? End to end, you can do the HTTPS. So there is a last mile security option over there. That what it will do, if you have deployed application with one-way SSL, okay, your Ingress, what it will transfer that SSL connection your till your Mule application. One more option is there called, if you remember, hope you see that option. This is deployed to cloud. Okay, shared space, right? This one. If you look at the Ingress, this one, this option, forward SSL. Okay, so last mile security will take care of one-way SSL. Now in two-way SSL, you need a client certificate also, correct? So if you want to send the client certificate from client till your Mule application, then you need to enable this forward SSL session option checkbox. This will take that client certificate, and from the Ingress controller, it will populate some header parameters. In that header parameters, all the information will be there. What is this client certificate all about? That information will be populated in header parameters, and then that request will be forwarded to the Mule application. Okay, so the first option, forward SSL, will take care of two-way. So that means client authentication. Last mile security will take care of your only server authentication. If you want to override the path, this is the option. Okay, you want to have multiple endpoints, this is the option. If you want to hide, your API or delete all these options. Okay, we go back quickly. Yeah, as I mentioned, right? This is a Docker and Kubernetes provided by EKS. Okay, so this is AWS will provide EKS infrastructure, and on top of it, Docker and Kubernetes will provided by you. And this is your brand new runtime plane. Okay, you can have that is shared space where your servers will be created and you'll be having pods in common space, shared space. If you want a dedicated space, you'll be creating private space. Each private space will backed up by EKS cluster again. Okay, each private space will have its own dedicated load balancer. We call it Ingress internal. We don't need to pay anything for it. You just need to upload the TLS over there, TLS context. Okay, how many private space you can create, we'll talk about it under one business group. There are some limitations. When you are creating private space, they have given some intuitive UI now. So with that UI, you can configure each and everything. You don't need to switch between the windows. So you can upload you can upload your TLS context over there. You can configure your VPN over there. You can configure TGW from there itself. Okay, and once the configuration is done, you will get static IPs, and you'll be able to see your public DNS target, private DNS target from here. Okay. Now we can configure inbound and outbound traffic. You can attach, and the static IP is based on your region and number of availability zones, as I already mentioned. Now from your runtime plane, okay, from this CloudHub 2.0, your control plane will be connected, and that will be from mutual TLS. Okay, always mutual TLS, two-way SSL we call it. So your apps will be sending the monitoring data via two-way SSL. Your agent will be there. Okay, this agent will be used to communicate your control plane. Ingress will be communicating or distributing load to your replicas. This agent will be sending data, getting data from the control plane via two-way SSL. Now, per subnet or per private space, you can connect Anypoint VPN to data centers via your data centers can be connected via Anypoint VPN or transit gateway. Okay, if it's there in the cloud, so in same region, you can use a transit gateway to connect your private data centers. Okay, now we have outbound static IPs that will be used for whitelisting your target, whitelisting on your target systems. Like one example, I talked about SFTP. Like that, it will help you to do that. We have NAT gateway. This NAT gateway will send the traffic. So whatever traffic is coming out of your private space, that is coming from one gate now. In CloudHub 1.0, there was no gate at all. It was completely open. Now we have one gate, NAT gateway, network access, whatever it is, NAT gateway. And why NAT gateway? It will, this guy will have static IPs. Now these static IPs you can whitelist on your target system. Okay, so shared space, when you don't need isolation, when you don't want to connect to any data center, when you are okay with CloudHub.io, when you don't want any custom certificate, and if you don't want any private endpoints, go with the shared space. Private space, opposite to that. If you want single tenancy, if you want your app to connect to your data centers, you want vanity domains, you want custom certificates, you want private endpoints for your application, go ahead with the private space. Replicas, we have already talked about it. Now we have option to have 0.5. Okay, and below 1 vCore, these are like own burstable, pods will get it, but it's like unpredictable. Okay, when it will burst, we don't know. But if you want a consistency, proper performance, go ahead with above one vCore. This one we already talked about it. Okay, so how the template look like? The app name, unique ID, shard will be there, region will be there, cloud. Unique ID, the 6 digit. Okay, appended to your app to ensure the uniqueness. So somebody was saying, right, can I deploy with the same name? Yes, the infrastructure or platform will take care of it, make it unique. Sharding, right, each private space. Okay, so each private gets a value for a shard. Okay, apps deployed to shard spaces, each region might have multiple shard values. This is okay. Yeah, this intelligent healing and zero downtime update, these are exactly inherited from the CloudHub 1.0. Now one important thing I want to talk here. Okay, in CloudHub 1.0, when you deploy application, it will go to only one worker. Okay, if you are more than one worker you are mentioning, then it will go to more than one worker. But in case of CloudHub 2.0, even if you deploy one replica, the copies will be deployed in other availability zones also. That is what the fault tolerant and more robust as compared to CloudHub 1.0. So if your current which is running, right, if it is not responding immediately, the second replica will start and start serving your request, but those won't be visible. That is what the redundancy means here. It will create redundant copies. So either 2 or 3 copies will be already there. Okay, even if you are deploying your application on one replica. So that is a platform responsibility. It will take and deploys. That will be like cold deployment. Active, passive. We talked about, right? Sometime active. So your current application which is running in this pod will be active, and other will be in passive mode. If this active is not responding immediately, that second one will get switched on and start working. Okay, so that is, I'm talking about only one replica. I'm not saying 2 replicas. Okay, one replica if you deploy, even that one replica will be replicated on multiple pods in different availability zones. Horizontal scaling, it will be achieved via clustering. Auto scaling is there, which is going to come because the vision of this CloudHub 2.0 is to change this license concept. Right now we have vCore consumption, right? Now then we have something called consumption based, means whatever you are consuming, that you don't need to buy like 50 vCores or 70 vCores when you are buying license. You buy a license, whatever you use, pay for it, right? That's how the AWS works, right? That is what the future of uh, the Anypoint platform. Okay, run template. Okay, I think we have talked all these points. Yeah, and I think we have discussed this also. The VPC is now converted into a private space, worker, replica, DLB, ingress controller, public worker cloud, shared space. We talked about this. I think important point I already talked about. So right now CloudHub 2.0 is only handling STDP load, because if you go right, I forgot to discuss that. If we go here, I think my time is up, but still, private space, firewall rules. Now, in case of DLB, right, here you'll find all the options, TCP and those other options. Okay. Now, here we have only HTTP. That incoming load is only HTTP. Now, from here you can go to any, see. So right now, CH, 2.0 is only handling the HTTP load. Non-HTTP loads is specific to CloudHub 1.0. Okay, datagram is still not supported, but that is there in the roadmap. Persistent VM queue, that is removed, guys. That is not going to support. Flex gateway is still in progress. That is in the roadmap. Directly from the studio, we are not able to deploy it right now. So if I go to studio and if I say directly deploy to Anypoint platform, you won't get option to deploy to the CloudHub 2.0. But we have option to deploy it from Maven command. Just now I did it. Okay, so that option you can use it. That option you can add it to your CI/CD pipeline. So here you get only option to deploy to CloudHub 1.0. Okay. Yes. So if you are planning to migrate it from CloudHub 1.0 to CloudHub 2.0, you need to be very careful. Okay. First, you need to upgrade your Mule runtime. If you are lesser than 4.3.0, you need to upgrade that. If you are using persistent queues, those are not supported. You need to look for some other option now here. Object store, you can use that. Okay. What else? What else? HTTP load, you need to check that. Okay. If you are using a data graph or proxies, proxies you're using it, you need to update that. But that is the proxy, data graph, and what else is there in the roadmap? I think data graph and proxies are there in the roadmap. Other thing I am not aware of. So yeah, so we need to be very careful if you are using persistent queues, if you are using data graph, and now you want to. But the MuleSoft is planning to have new client. They will give CloudHub 2.0, but existing client they will give a lot of time to see the consistency or stability of this product, and then only they will go. And the future is consumption based, no vCores at all. Okay, until then, replica size. Limitation. This is important, guys. Yeah. So private space per business group 100 you can create. VPNs you can create 10, but if you are creating redundant, only 5 you can create. Okay. Transit gateway you can create 5 depending on the network connection entitlement what you bought it. TLS, how many TLS you can upload it there? Right now I have uploaded 2, right? You can upload 10. There is HTTP header length. Okay, this is important, 16K. Okay, so I didn't implement any POC for this, but this is there in the documentation. Firewall rules, inbound you can write 40, outbound you can write 40, and application size, I think this is equivalent to the CloudHub 1.0, I guess. On RTF it's 200 MB, not on CloudHub 1.0. I'm not sure about that, but in RTF it's 200 MB. Okay, and logs we have seen it shows 100 MB, but somewhere one of the session I was attending from the MuleSoft, they mentioned the 200 MB. Okay, so that's all, guys, from my side. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll jump on to the quiz. Ravi, okay, any timeline to end the life or no, not soon. Okay, Sridharan, it's there, but 2023, from 2023, new client will get not only 2020 from this November. Whoever comes for the new license, they will give CloudHub 2.0. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Any questions, guys? Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks for that.
Thank you very much, Ashish. As
Mhm.
usual, see we should all thank for selecting this topic because
Okay.
many people are talking about Cloud Up 2, and even now many people are confusing what are the differences, right? Identifying the difference is very important.
Mm-hmm.
I think you are 100% successful and taking this topic and also presenting, and also I know that you have put a lot of effort, groundwork behind to bringing all that, Ashish.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
so
We
much.
should thank everyone.
No, in the multiple sessions I attended, right? Everybody is focused
Yeah.
on theory part.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yeah.
thought it let me
That is
jump
very
on directly
important,
to the
Ashish.
demo,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That
we
is
will be
very
discussing theory and we'll be skipping this demo part. So people wanted to see the options. In the trial account, all the options are not available.
Yeah, that is
And
very important. I think many
yeah,
we can't see that option everyone, and it takes time for the people to explore it.
yeah.
I think you put a lot of effort in exploring it, and that's really appreciated, Ashish.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
true. Like
Thanks, Balkis.
it's a great hard work you did. Like lots of concept of mine has been cleared. Like for a few days I was not up to date, but yeah, this has given a lot of information to me as well on learning about CloudHub 2.0, and great
Yeah.
questions from the audience, and you have answered all of them. Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
actually, I was having running sessions actually, and last moment my laptop was not working, so I moved from that laptop to this laptop. So I was planning to have workings, applications deployed, but that will again take time permits. Maybe we can have one more session now. I'm not sure when, but we'll try. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Okay, thanks for your time and attending this. Balkish,
Yes, Ashish.
any questions which is unanswered?
No, we are all answered everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ashish, for the great session.
Yeah,
Yeah,
over to you now.
yeah.
Yeah,
I will be stop recording now.
stop recording and I stop sharing.